previous video, we've got this chord sequence, we've copied it into a new instrument, we've made this broken chord pattern. In this video, we're going to add in a bass line based on the initial chord pattern. So I'm going to hold down Option, click and drag that down 2 spaces to create a copy of it in a new instrument. I'm going to go over to the left and turn that instrument into a bass. There's a lot to choose from. I'd recommend just going with Crunchy Pop to start with. You can change it later. Then going back to the chords here and here. Bass lines are usually built on the lowest note in each chord, so I'm going to delete the top 2 of each one, and we're left with what we would call the root notes of the chords. Now if you listen to this, that doesn't sound like a bass because it's too high pitched because we copied it from the piano. So I'm going to select the whole bass line. I'm going to click on it, check which note that is. It's a C. I'm going to drag it down to the next C and just double check I've actually lined everything up and it's still in time. You might find you have to go down 2 octaves to the next C sometimes. Now if we just listen to that as a solo, it will sound like this. Which sounds more like a bass. If we put it in context with everything else, it now sounds like this. Which is fine, but it's not particularly interesting. Bass players don't tend to just play long notes. You might sometimes choose to have a very simple bass line, maybe in the first verse of a song or something like that, but normally bass players play a bit more rhythmically. So just like before, we can experiment with the notes that we've already got and try and come up with some different patterns. Sometimes, hang on, I've got them all selected. Let's do that again. Sometimes bass players will play lots of 8th notes, which would be like that. And then you'd go throughout the whole pattern like that. That would sound like this. But that's maybe a bit too much for this particular piece of music. Sometimes they play like da da da, which is like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, bit like clocks, which I think most of you know. So that'll be how many squares do we want to be? 1.5 beats. So 6 squares. Do that twice. So I'm going to hold down Option and click and move that, and then the last one will be 4 squares. Hold down Command and draw it in. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. I'll do that over here. So that's 6 squares, 6 squares, and then this will be 4 squares. And then I might just do 2 and 2. Maybe I'll deliberately do this one differently so it's a bit more interesting. And finally that 6 6 4. Okay, so this one would now sound like this. Which sounds a bit more interesting potentially. The other thing bass players often do is they add what's known as passing notes that connect the different chords. The most common ones are ones that kind of step up or down to the note. So rather than having this as another C, I might play the note in between. So I might play the next white note, make sure it's not a black note. They're already kind of connected, so I can't do that there. Sometimes people use chromatic notes, which is deliberately a black note when it's very quick. That might not sound good. Let's give it a listen. Okay, so I think that worked quite well. Another thing that bass players often do is alternate between the note they're playing and the 5th above it, so 5 notes above it. Now this is going to get a little bit more complicated, so you might have to re-watch this a few times to understand it. So if we take the C, 5 notes higher in the musical alphabet than C is C, D, E, F, G. C is 1, so C, D, E, F, G. That's the 5th. what I can do is deliberately play some quick fifths. So I'm going to draw in a G above it and make it quite a short note in that pattern. I might do the same thing in this bar over here, so I'm going to shorten that. This is an E, 5 notes higher than an E is E, F, G, A, B. So I'm going to go up to this B over here, or I could go down to that same note. So I'm going to try that in this bar. So that's a C, I did it by accident. So I'm going to go down one more to a B. Now this might not sound good. It might sound a bit too busy or a bit too crazy, but let's give it a listen. I think it sounds quite good. I'm not certain about this one. We could just try going up a note, so to the D and back again, and give that a go, see what that sounds like. Okay, so obviously it depends on the style of music, the specific way that bass players play, but hopefully this video has given you a few ideas. So just a repeat of the instructions: copy the chords down, delete the top 2 notes, then start experimenting with the bottom note, the root note, in different ways, whether that's just rhythmically or adding in some passing notes or adding in some fifths, either above or the note below the initial note. In the next video, I'm going to add a simple drum beat to this track.